Pepe, I really believe that Iran has the total escalation dominance when it
Yes,
comes
I
to.
completely agree. I completely agree. The escalation. The title of my article that was published, I think, a few hours ago in Russia, it's "Escalation Blues." The escalation blues is for all of us. That we are singing the blues of escalation, and we thought that this was avoidable. No, now it's inevitable. But the difference is that the escalation ladder itself is controlled by Iran, is not controlled by the Americans. And Iran has not even started to really escalate the responses. And so the Americans have not seen how far Iran can go. Ah, yeah. So you're planning to destroy our civilian infrastructure again? Just wait.
Because if they go after civilian infrastructures, basic, that they hit
They
two
do.
water tanks in the Syriac island, which
Exactly.
is the
So
water
over
supply to
20,000
the
people
island, which is
without
so
water.
important.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
So
but Iran didn't escalate that. Iran didn't respond the same way. They keep focusing on the American bases, the strategic points in those countries as they attack. They mentioned, IRGC mentioned that 12 ballistic missiles were used to attack this major airbase in Jordan, as you mentioned, and
and
they said.
apparently a lot of F-15s, F-16s, F-35s, they turn to dust. Yeah, it's quite possible. Absolutely.
And just
So
imagine what would be the easiest target for Iran is going to be Ben Gurion Airport.
of
If
course, and this is something that Iran can do with their hypersonic missiles. They can totally obliterate Ben Gurion Airport if they want. Absolutely, absolutely. And that train station, that there's only one big train station connecting railways in Israel. They can destroy that train station. Same thing. I think they are saving it for the right moment because they know that if the escalation continues, this is just the beginning, and that will be the kiss of death for the Israel-U.S. alliance. They are saving it for the right moment. Absolutely, absolutely. But coming back to the possibility of any sort of diplomatic understanding between the US and Iran, now it has vanished.
yeah,
Unfortunately,
it vanished. Yeah.
it's back to less than zero after all these efforts. No?
I think here is what the head of Iranian parliament and chief negotiator Ghalibaf said. He tweeted that wrong strategies and impulsive actions will reset the entire board for the worst, explode energy infrastructure and markets, and create an endless quagmire that you will be stuck in for years. And
Absolutely,
you'll see a different Iran. I think at this
we are.
particular, we are witnessing a different Iran. That's why they're attacking Israel without being attacked by Israel because of
Right.
Lebanon. That's the whole game. The whole game has changed.
You're right. This is the major game changer, and this is the proof that this is an axis of resistance process. It's not only Iran. And the fact that this interconnection of the maritime interconnection uniting Bab el Mandeb to Persian Gulf is exactly the same thing again. This is a unified axis of resistance fighting US Israel from now on. There's no division of the okay, inside there may be some division of labor. Okay, who's going to attack what and how, etc. But the overall concept of unified resistance now it's in practice. It has put in practice, and once again, maybe they accelerated this process because of the warmongering of U.S. Israel. Obviously, they know that it's inevitable. But all that, once again, it's the road that is leading all of us is the most dangerous road possible. and especially when you have an unhinged president of the United States contemplating all sorts of absurdities, including hints of a nuclear attack. Well, he already tried. Remember when he tried to get the nuclear codes in that famous reunion, in the famous meeting with CENTCOM? So it's wow. It could not be worse than what it is now, and how fast it changed.
Mm.
Well, anyway, coming back to what we were trying to do, Nima, Larry and I, we still believe that we have to try to support diplomacy and mediation efforts. So our idea with this channel, which was, by the way, personally canceled by the US government. I cannot get into name. We have the names. We know who did it. We know who ordered Google cut off this channel. Obviously, we cannot say it, but we know how it works. And our interlocutors know how it works. So we set up a new channel. So I call all of you who follow Nima and myself, please go to Transition Protocol. It's a new channel on YouTube. It's very small. This week, we already did 3 shows. Larry did the first one on Monday. I did the second one on Tuesday. And yesterday on Wednesday, Larry and myself were on the same show. And there are a lot of nuggets. If you see it, it's not too long. It's 40 to 50 minutes, the show yesterday. You're going to see nuggets here and there. And this is hardcore intel straight from the source. Very, very few people have it. And that's why we are involved in this project. There you go. Here's Transition Protocol. And what Nima is showing now is the 3 shows that we did this week, Monday, Tuesday, and yesterday, Wednesday. So we're going to have to start from scratch. It's very, very hard. The first breaking news that we had, we got some Nima style audience. We got 125,000, 130,000. So now we have to start from scratch and build it all over again. But that's it. This is something that's very rare to find. For instance, the Americans have Israeli IDF soldiers posing as journalists. We don't do that kind of shit. We are real journalists delivering real intel from real negotiators. And it comes from Pakistan, but is Pakistan talking to Iran. And then we have the background of Pakistan talking to Saudi Arabia. Then we have input from Turkey. Then we had stuff that we can confirm with our sources. Larry can confirm in the US. I can confirm with Russia and China. Plus stuff that we can ask our Iranian friends and connections. So this is what it is. This small channel is about real intel with all the players. And of course, the main focus is let's try to solve this forever war because before it gets totally out of control. And that's the problem, Nima. We are, this week that we are now, we are heading towards totally out of control. Nobody wants that, except, of course, the usual suspects, right?
You know what's so fragile about the argument on the part of the United States about that Apache helicopter is that he said that the Apache helicopter was hit by a drone. Then the 2 pilots are alive and they were not injured during this attack. And but before that, to understand what was the main reason for the United States to attack Iran, I think we can go, you know, we have to understand what has happened before
Before.
that attack on Apache helicopter. That was the Iranian attack on Israel, because Israel attacked Lebanon. Iran responded to Israel in the northern part of Israel. Then
Right.
Israeli attack on Iran. Then Iranian response. The Iranian response, it seems that it was so hard, and they said, Israelis said that they intercepted each and every missile that Iran fired at Israel. Later on, we had some sort of footages showing that Iran hit Ramat David Air Base in Israel.
Yes.
And here is the new satellite image that is high quality satellite image. It shows how Iran hit that building. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
left one is before the attack, and the right one is
Before
the
and
after
after the
attack.
war. Yes.
You see, they destroyed basically the building in that area.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
think the reason the United States decided to go with the attack is the Israel was not capable of attacking Iran and doing what they had in their mind in terms of to have some sort of equal response to
Equal response.
Iranian attack.
Not only they don't have, they can do, and their interceptors and their defense capabilities are extremely reduced. Exactly. So Iran can bomb Israel practically with impunity from now on. If they decide to, reach the escalation ladder in terms of bombing Israel, it's not a problem for Iran now. And obviously, the Americans freaked out completely with that. No question. No question. Yeah.
That has changed. I don't know what Donald Trump can do for Israel because they were in the region. They had everything in the region when Iran attacked Israel. And as it was mentioned by the Israeli media, the United States was trying to intercept those missiles and they couldn't intercept them.
You couldn't.
This is the
Yeah.
reality. Their defensive capabilities have been reduced drastically. This is the problem right now the United States is facing. I don't know if these offensives are going to help the Trump administration or Israeli position. That's
No,
not going to.
no, of course not. And because the response by Iran, we just saw the beginning of the response of Iran. When we have, I would say, a coordinated response by Iran, including Israel, not only Jordan now as a legitimate target, re-attacks on all those bases, attacking the Fifth Fleet, what remains of the Fifth Fleet again, but also Israel altogether. Wow. But will that be enough to instill some sense into the 4-year-old brain of the Emperor of Barbaria? We know it won't, Nima, unfortunately. For instance, I discussed with Larry a lot. Larry thinks there is less than zero possibility of a diplomatic agreement. I think there is zero.
He's totally right. He's
If we
totally
ask
right.
our friend Alistair Crook, Alistair has been basically writing and analyzing in terms it's practically impossible, a diplomatic agreement. So what's left? And after all these efforts by the Pakistanis, we receive news from the Pakistani mediators every day. They are still okay. To be realistic, they are relatively optimistic because they are always saying, the last we heard, for instance, last night, look, the deal is not dead. It's very dangerous. We are at a crucial juncture, but we are not abandoning the table. And we are telling the Americans all the time, look, ourselves, our connections with Tehran, everybody behind it, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, everybody wants at least a memorandum of understanding. So you cannot go against everyone. And at the moment, you are going against everybody. Not to mention your own interests. But try to explain that to, okay, you can explain that to maybe American negotiators. But how to explain that to Trump, Nima? We know it's impossible. Nobody can do that. The only one who could, if he picked up the phone again, and would be Putin, which is what he tried to do a few weeks ago when they had their phone call. Putin trying to explain to Trump, look, take something, a memorandum of understanding. It's your only way to get an off ramp. Nobody's going to give you another off ramp. That's it. There's nothing else. Do you need help? I can help you. So obviously he didn't listen.
And today, Russia said, again, Vladimir Putin said the only solution would be negotiation and talking to each other.
Of
Nothing.
course, of course. It was one of the themes in St. Petersburg last week. And of course, the Russians have no illusions on the backup of the Americans to this escalation ladder by the Europeans against Russia as well. They know who they're dealing with. But in terms of Iran, once again, Putin reaffirmed their strategic partnership. One of the things that he said was immensely intriguing. He said, look, the Iranians did not ask anything from us, which is true. You know the Persians, right, Nima? They are very, very proud. No, we can do everything by ourselves, and they can. But if they asked Russians for some pretty hardcore military gear, Russia would have given them to them without even blinking. What Putin did not say, and this is all as important as what he did say, is that Russia provided a lot of first-class intel to Iran. And this, in many cases, is much more important than weapons. Much more important.
But we've seen a significant improvement in the air defense system of Iran last
Oh,
time.
yes. No. And this is Russia and Chinese very, very discreet help in the background. Of course, of course.
I don't know, Pepe, when it comes to the big picture, when it comes to Russia, because when Vladimir Putin is suggesting the only solution would be negotiations, and they have the same case with the United States. There is
No,
nobody there
no,
to negotiate with.
no, absolutely. The only thing, in terms of the Russians, they know that the only thing that may come out of what's going on nowadays is maybe a few trade deals or commercial opportunities, because this is the both oligarchies talking to each other, the American oligarchy and the Russian oligarchy. And obviously, the Kremlin looks at it. Okay, if they want to do business, no problem, as long as it does not interfere with our national security projects. For instance, an example. Let's say one of the oil majors in the US wants to go back to exploiting energy in the Arctic. This is going to be very circumscribed, very specific. And the Russian government, of course, will, okay, you can do this, but you cannot do that. It's fine. That's it. But very, very circumscribed. There were American businessmen in St. Petersburg. Not an enormous delegation, but there were American businessmen exploiting business opportunities. So, but in terms of a government-to-government breakthrough and diplomacy advancing, they have no illusions whatsoever. And obviously, the Russians are paying now much more attention to the European dementia, their escalation ladder against Russia using Ukraine. So this is their number one problem to deal with now. But at the same time, they are paying attention to Iran a lot. And of course, if Iran needs anything from Russia, they will get it. But for so far, they have not asked.
Pepe, do you think that the United States is still thinking of invading some of these islands? Because Donald Trump today said that Hark Island, we want to invade. Yeah, part of the operation tonight, he said that it's going to be, we want to invade. If you're going to invade an island, you don't talk about it. Because
try to explain that to somebody who still doesn't understand Sun Tzu, Nima. Yes, we're going to invade your island tonight, tomorrow. How fucking stupid can that be, nah? Okay. But that's who we are dealing with. These people are not very bright. They are dangerous, but they're not very bright. And the guy who's running the Pentagon, He's not even bright. He is an absolute idiot. So what to expect, right? But it's dangerous. Kellogg, this absolute idiot you played the clip in the beginning of our conversation, he was so stupid that he's marginalized by everybody. The Russians said, we will not allow this idiot to sit on any table discussing anything with us. But it's tough, Nima. It's tough because if you look at the big picture around, if you look at how these wars are intersecting, if you look at the level of desperation of the uh, the people who run the show in the U.S. and who run Trump and the European elites, their intersected level of desperation mounting day by day, he gets extremely worried because we are on the razor's edge of slipping into something very, very nasty in Ukraine and in against Iran, and perhaps even simultaneously. It's very, very worrying, very, very worrying. And once again, every time that we think there are off ramps and diplomacy has been given a chance, the thing collapses abruptly, which is what happened these past few days.
The other problem, Pepe, which is in the between Israel and Lebanon, it seems that the invasion of Lebanon is becoming a great pain in the neck of Israel as time
They're
goes
having
by.
their asses kicked by Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Period. Again. Why? Because they didn't do their homework, Nima. They may have Mossad cells in Beirut, which they do everywhere. They know where the leadership of Hezbollah goes. They can plant I don't know, exploding smartphones or whatever. But they don't understand the Hezbollah way of war and how Hezbollah, in their own terrain, in Lebanon and in southern Lebanon, they are unbeatable. Period. They still don't know that. They haven't learned their lesson. So they're having their asses kicked. Even with Hezbollah still under reconstruction, like we saw by ourselves last year when I was talking to Hezbollah politicians, very well educated people, where they say, look, it's a long uh, the second and the third level of leadership, we are still, there's still some few things that they need to learn, but they are learning very, very fast and they are well prepared. So when we are back, we're going to be back in full force. This was 1 year ago, Nima. Now we were watching that they are back in full force and with this new leadership commanding the resistance. It's something impossible for the Israelis to understand. Starts with their the way they treat Arabs as a whole as inferior. Start with that. It's that mix of arrogance and ignorance, typical of self-described hegemonic powers. So they will never learn their lessons. There you go.
The Israeli solution for Lebanon is that they're not going to be able to defeat Hezbollah in the southern part of Lebanon.
Yes.
Then what else can they do? They wanted to attack Beirut to level Dahiya, which Iran interfered.
Level the whole of southern Beirut. For what? Is this going to change anything? No, it won't.
This is the moment that Iran entered the game. He said, you cannot attack. We're going to do the same to the northern part of Israel.
Absolutely, because Iran saw perfectly clear that the plan is to turn Dahiya into a new Gaza.
Yeah.
No, that's it. This is beyond a red line. And this is very, very important.
They really wanted to do this. They literally wanted to do this.
And this is a Shiite population, Nima.
Yeah.
So, it's like you are trying to do this with Iran. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. Exactly.
And then yesterday, we've seen two videos from the Israeli president and Israeli prime minister talking with the people in Lebanon and with the government, with the president of Lebanon. And the president of Israel said that I have watched your video on with CNN because Joseph Owen had an interview with Christian Amanpour. He
Mm.
was talking basically about that Iran is using Hezbollah or is using Lebanon as a bargaining chip in the negotiation, in the ongoing negotiations. And
Only
and
stupid Americans can believe that. But what do you expect? CNN. What do you expect? Right? Yeah.
yeah. But the main focus of Israelis is something else.
Yes.
The prime minister is talking to Lebanese people that Iran is, that we are friend of Lebanese people. We are friend of Lebanese government. The only problem is Hezbollah. We are at war with Hezbollah. This is the message from Benjamin Netanyahu. I
Well,
don't know if
two or
Turkey
three
is
people in Beirut
contributing to why
believe
this
that,
sort
Lima.
of yes.
Yeah, people who go to those flashy Hariri style malls in Beirut near the Corniche, and they dream of being in Paris or in Rome, they may believe that, but that's a minority of the population. The absolute majority of the population in Beirut, they know that this is beyond bullshit. And the working class in Beirut, this is fantastic. For instance, last year when I was there, I was always talking to the working class in Beirut whenever I could. And it's unanimous. Hezbollah is defending us. Sometimes they cannot say this openly because their employer is a westernized idiot, brainwashed by Americans and Israelis. But this is the real, the real nitty gritty of Beirut. And Beirut is an absolutely outstanding city. The real nitty gritty of the working class of Beirut. That's the real story.
Yeah. I think this is the whole concept of the war in the West Asia is so complicated as time goes by.
Yes.
Because just imagine it was all about Iranian nuclear program, but nothing of the nuclear
No,
program has been discussed so far.
exactly. An Iranian nuclear program is a detail.
Yeah.
And the order of discussions established by Iran proves that. Okay, the last stage of discussing our problems in war, in diplomacy, etc., is the nuclear dossier. There are many more important problems to discuss before that.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of how this is a detail, and it was never a big deal. The Americans made it a big deal. Iran, like anybody else, they have the right to have a civilian nuclear program. Like any nation on earth. The Americans made this a big deal. No, they're building a nuclear weapon. Everybody knew since the original Khomeini fatwa to the second Khamenei fatwa. No, we are not building a nuclear weapon because it's un-Islamic. We are investing in our civilian nuclear program, which is something that non-biased inspectors, real inspectors and not bloody Mossad spies going to Iran, it was their conclusion all the time. The Americans made it an issue. So when the Americans fabricate an issue, it becomes, that's the problem, because if you control the narratives, if you control the system of dissemination of information, if you control the narratives, and if you control the language, because everything is in English, you set the agenda. Yeah. And that's it's the great challenge to all of us all across the global south. We have to unmask these agendas in their own language and using their own system of disseminating news. And of course, ridicule them, which is much more interesting. We can unmask them, but the real pleasure is to ridicule them and show to the global south as a whole how absolutely stupid and mediocre they are, and dangerous always, of course. But, strip them naked in the middle of the public square. They are naked in the middle of the public square, and the public square is the whole planet. By the way, this is being achieved right before the start of the World Cup, Nima.
Yeah.
Most of the global south is seeing the US under the Emperor of Barbaria for what it is, a racist shithole. I'm not talking about the US as a whole. The United States has absolutely outstanding people,
Yeah.
configurations, parts of the culture. I lived in the US. I love the US since I was a kid. I understand the country very well. I know the US better than the country where I was born. But I'm talking about positions of power and systems of power and the particular configuration of this administration, which is one of the most despicable things in the history of modern politics. These are the people who are running the United States, and they are trying to turn the United States into a racist shithole. Best demonstration these past few days, the way they are treating essentially global South visitors coming to see the most important sports event of the planet. Senegal, Uzbekistan, the Somali
Yeah,
referee,
it's shameful what
name
is
it.
happening. Yeah.
Beyond shameful.
Yeah.
Beyond shameful. Come on. So that's it. The way what's happening now, it's a perfect mirror of the Emperor of Barbaria and the people around him. This is not the United States. The real United States is not like that. The wonderful people that you meet when you go to the Midwest, to the Deep South, to the Florida Keys, to California, to New Mexico, to Arizona, they are not like that. But they are hostages of these people, these grifters, gangsters, pervert people, profiteers, extremely dangerous, all of them, starting with the new Epstein, Kushner. This is the ghastliest of them all. That's it. They are destroying the image of the United States, and they are destroying the soft power of the United States.